We need Madison's home office for her YouTube setup. Her subscriber count is growing, and this could be her big break. Charlotte announced, not looking up from her phone. Yeah, all 50 of them. Meanwhile, my real estate investments just closed a $12,000 deal that covered their property taxes last month. Not that anyone bothered to say thanks. Your sister needs proper lighting. The living room isn't professional enough, Dexter added through a mouthful of fries. Professional space for someone who'd never earned a dollar. Meanwhile, I'd been covering their mortgage payments, fixing Charlotte's car breakdowns, and upgrading their home network when Dexter complained about buffering. I'm Alexis, a 30-year-old former nurse turned real estate investor, still living with my stepfamily because moving mom's things felt like abandoning her memory. I've been building my investment portfolio from this home office. It wasn't just a room, it was where I'd spent 3 years managing properties and clients while paying $2,000 monthly to support this household, plus utilities, plus groceries. My stepsister Madison, a 22-year-old college dropout, sat across from me with that entitled smirk. The golden child who'd flunked out twice on my dime, but somehow Charlotte and Dexter still believed she'd become the next beauty guru. She wanted my workspace for her career, which consisted of makeup tutorials for an audience of maybe 12 people. I've invested over $40,000 into this household, and they treat me like a tenant they're doing favors. Madison kept grinning wider, like she'd won something. That's how it's always been since Dad remarried, her taking me giving. When I graduated nursing school with honors, they nodded. When she passed community college orientation, they celebrated with dinner out. I stabbed at my salad, dressing splattering the table. Charlotte frowned at the mess, but honestly, I was calculating exit strategies. This office held Mom's photos, her books, my 3 years of work, but clearly sentiment meant nothing here. You can use the basement, Dexter offered generously. The basement with concrete floors, mildew smell, and terrible cell reception. Where they stored Christmas decorations and broken furniture. I smiled calmly and nodded. Of course. Family first. But inside, something shifted. I'd spent years being reasonable while they spoiled Madison. Time for a different approach. I sat in my office, staring at Mom's photo beside my investment reports. 3 years of building wealth, supporting this family, and they were handing my sanctuary to someone who couldn't balance a checkbook. Something crystallized in my mind. I should explain the Madison situation, because it's key to understanding my decision. Since Dad married Charlotte, this girl's been treated like spun glass. My straight A's earned lectures about applying myself more. Madison C- got ice cream celebrations. She learns differently, Charlotte would coo. She needs encouragement. Meanwhile, I was the reliable one. Translation, the one they didn't worry about, so they didn't invest in. At 18, I worked double shifts to buy nursing textbooks. Madison got a brand new MacBook for her birthday for school. I earned my real estate license through night classes while working full-time. Madison flunked out of college twice and they blamed unsupportive professors, then funded her gap year indefinitely. When I moved back after Mom died, the arrangement was temporary, until I processed grief and got established. Reasonable. But somehow I became the household ATM, handyman, and emotional support system. Last winter, their furnace died. Repair bill, $3,200. Guess whose investment profits covered it? Not Charlotte and Dexter, despite their government pensions. Definitely not Madison, who was finding herself. Me, with promises they'd figure out repayment later. 6 months ago, Dexter's car needed transmission work, $2,100 from my emergency fund. Last spring, I spent weekends renovating their kitchen. Paid for materials, did the labor, while Madison filmed TikToks. When neighbors complimented the renovation, Dexter said, "Got a great deal on the work." Every time I mentioned these contributions, Charlotte got teary and Dexter got defensive. Family supports family, he'd say. But support only flowed one direction. This office meant everything, Mom's memory, my success, my sanctuary. And they were giving it to Madison for her imaginary YouTube empire. That night I lay awake, tallying every sacrifice, every time they'd chosen her comfort over my contributions, every time I'd swallowed resentment and smiled. Not anymore. I skipped the usual family breakfast. I couldn't stand to see Madison's entitled smirk or hear Charlotte gush about redecorating my office into her content creation studio. Instead, I sat in my car, scrolling luxury condo listings. I'd been saving for my own place, but with my investment portfolio growing, I no longer needed to wait. Time to accelerate the timeline. I found a penthouse in downtown Oakland, 1,200 square feet, modern kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows perfect for my home office. $3,200 a month, which was nothing compared to what I was spending here. The seller wanted $50,000 down for immediate occupancy. I had $180,000 liquid from my recent property sale. Pocket change. I fired off an email with my financial credentials and investment portfolio summary. Got a response within 30 minutes, cash buyer preferred. Can you view it this afternoon? Absolutely, I could. The place was stunning, pristine, spacious, private. Floor-to-ceiling windows, zero mildew smell, no Madison, no step-parents treating my income like their personal slush fund for Madison's imaginary career. I'll take it, I told Fiona Kennedy, the listing agent and family law attorney I'd researched specifically, a sharp woman who specialized in financial boundary disputes. I signed the paperwork immediately, transferred the down payment, got the keys. Just like that, I had my strategic base of operations. Driving home, I felt this strange mix of anticipation and cold satisfaction. I should have done this years ago. Instead, I'd been subsidizing a household that saw me as an endless resource to drain. Well, resources have limits. I didn't mention the penthouse. Instead, when Charlotte texted asking if I could grab groceries, I replied, of course, maintaining perfect normalcy. But I didn't buy the usual $300 weekly haul, just coffee and yogurt, bare essentials. Where's everything else? She asked, staring at my single small bag. Tightening the budget this month, I said casually. Figured everyone could contribute. The look on her face, like I'd suggested we start foraging for berries. But you handle groceries every week. Yeah, well, priorities shift. Dexter was in my office, my soon-to-be former office, measuring for Madison's ring light setup they were planning to purchase. A $2,000 professional filming kit they'd somehow afford, despite pleading poverty whenever I mentioned the $15,000 in household expenses I'd covered. Hey, the Wi-Fi's acting up again, he called when he spotted me. Can you reset the router? Normally I'd immediately troubleshoot, 15 minutes of my time fixing whatever Madison had broken while live streaming. Not today. Swamped, I said. Client emergency. Maybe later? Charlotte needs internet for her virtual book club. Sorry, revenue calls. I walked past him into my office and began quietly cataloging my belongings. Not packing, nothing obvious, just mental inventory. That evening, the Wi-Fi remained broken. Charlotte missed her book club. Dexter complained about family obligations. I worked on my laptop using mobile hotspot, a slight smile playing across my lips. Madison cornered me in the kitchen. Can you drive me to the mall? My car's making weird noises again. Her car, actually my old BMW that I'd generously sold to her below market value, which she'd never properly maintained. Call an Uber, I said, not glancing up from my tea. Uber? That's like $20 each way. Sounds expensive. She huffed off to complain to Charlotte. Minutes later, Charlotte appeared wearing her signature disappointed expression. Alexis, Madison needs transportation. It's just a quick trip. I have client calls. You're literally just sitting there. Yes, preparing for calls that generate income supporting this household, apparently. Her mouth opened, then closed. She wasn't accustomed to directness from me. Small acts of resistance, but surprisingly satisfying. By day 3 of Operation Boundary Enforcement, cracks appeared in their comfortable system. The yard, which I'd maintained every weekend for 3 years, looked increasingly wild. Dishes accumulated in the sink, typically I handle cleanup without being asked. The internet connection kept failing because I'd stopped providing free tech support whenever their streaming overloaded the router. Minor things. Services they'd assumed I'd provide indefinitely. Dexter finally approached Thursday evening, lingering awkwardly in my doorway. The lawn's getting pretty overgrown. I looked up from my legal documents. Really is. I thought you'd handle it last weekend. Nope. A lengthy pause. Planning to mow it this weekend? Wasn't on my agenda. Back to my paperwork. He shifted nervously. Everything okay, Alexis? You seem different lately. Rich. 3 years of functioning as their personal accountant, maintenance crew, and emergency fund, and now he detected something amiss. Just focused on business, I replied neutrally. We're family, though. Everyone should contribute. I finally met his gaze, letting those words settle. Everyone should contribute. When had Madison last contributed anything beyond dirty dishes? When had Dexter last handled repairs instead of delegating to me? Absolutely, I agreed. I'll note that for future reference. I didn't specify which reference, but I was definitely documenting everything. I woke to raised voices downstairs. Peering over the banister, I saw Madison and Dexter arguing about the yard work. Why should I do it? That's Alexis's thing. Your sister's swamped. Just handle it this once. But I'm launching my skincare series today. My subscribers are waiting. All 50 of them, I mused. Then film it later. Christ, Madison, it's just mowing. Like watching a nature documentary, the parasitic ecosystem disrupted, the host finally refusing to feed the parasite. Fascinating dynamics? I retreated to my room, continuing my strategic relocation. I'd been quietly transferring assets daily while they bickered about household maintenance. The penthouse was systematically filling with my belongings. But the real catalyst came that afternoon. I was reviewing investment portfolios when Dexter knocked, wearing an odd expression mixing guilt and defiance. Quick heads up, he said after I finished my call. I donated your mother's desk to charity. Pickups tomorrow. Got a tax write-off. My mother's antique writing desk. The mahogany piece she'd inherited from her grandmother, where she'd written her final letters before cancer took her. You disposed of my mother's furniture without consulting me? My voice carried Arctic precision. Well, Madison needs professional filming space, and since you're relocating to the basement anyway. So you decided Mom's belongings were yours to discard? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. I assumed you'd understand. It's for Madison's career development. Her career? I repeated with surgical calm. Naturally. Look, we'll claim you as co-donor. You'll get half the tax benefit. Half the deduction for my mother's irreplaceable heirloom that he'd given away for his daughter's hobby. Keep it, I said, returning to my screen. Consider it my contribution to the Madison Development Fund. Seems to be where everything valuable ends up anyway. He departed, bewildered but relieved I hadn't escalated. The moment he left, I called Fiona Kennedy to expedite my legal documentation. I'd relocated approximately 70% of my possessions to the penthouse. Nothing conspicuous, furniture remained positioned, beds still made, but valuables, documents, professional equipment, all systematically transferred while they navigated their deteriorating household dynamics. The family ecosystem was rapidly collapsing. Madison had botched the lawn maintenance, leaving random patches uncut and edges ragged. Dexter had attempted printer repairs, only creating worse malfunctions. Charlotte grew increasingly agitated about their declining domestic standards. I moved through it all like a specter, providing minimal assistance, preparing individual meals, cleaning only personal items. When the internet failed for the 4th time that week and Charlotte called out, "Alexis, the Wi-Fi's down again," I simply responded, "Try the reset button." Minor victories, but deeply satisfying. Friday evening, Dexter approached me again. "About your mother's desk, if you're really attached to it, I could contact the charity." Far too little, infinitely too late. Don't trouble yourself. Madison's thrilled about her new studio space. Perhaps you could assist with her equipment setup this weekend. Make it a father-daughter project. I nearly laughed aloud. A bonding experience. After they'd violated my mother's memory, appropriated my workspace, and treated me like hired help for years. I have commitments, I stated. What commitments? Personal commitments. I moved past him toward my room to collect final essentials. He trailed behind, radiating anxiety. Alexis, What's happening with you lately? Charlotte's concerned. Naturally not I'm concerned, but Charlotte's concerned. Classic deflection technique. Nothing's happening, I replied with measured neutrality. Simply establishing appropriate boundaries. Boundaries? We're family. There it was. The magical incantation supposed to justify everything. Family. Their universal excuse for exploitation. Indeed, I acknowledged. We are family. Which makes it fascinating that when Madison wants something, it becomes we must support each other, but when I need consideration, it's you are independent, handle it yourself. Dexter's complexion reddened. That's unfair. We've supported you tremendously. Specify one instance this year you've prioritized my needs. One time you've helped me with anything. He opened his mouth, closed it, attempted again. We provide you housing, don't we? I pay $2,000 monthly rent plus utilities, plus groceries constantly, plus every household emergency expense. I'm not receiving housing, Dexter. I'm financially supporting all of you. That's ridiculous. You're distorting the situation. Am I? Calculate my household expenditures this year. Property taxes, kitchen renovation, your medical bills. Over $40,000. Madison's contributions? Ever? He had no response. And now you're confiscating my office, the one space honoring my mother's memory for Madison's hobby. Then disposing of mom's furniture without permission. So explain again how this arrangement benefits me. Dexter's expression shifted through anger, defensiveness, and finally uncomfortable recognition. We didn't realize. No, I interrupted. You didn't. I returned to my closet, removing remaining garments without concealment. What are you doing? Dexter asked, voice suddenly uncertain. Packing. For what? I paused, meeting his gaze directly. I'm leaving tomorrow. The shock on his face would have been amusing if it weren't so pitiful. Leaving? Where? Why didn't you mention this? Purchased property last week. I'm mentioning it now. But the basement arrangement? We assumed that I'd continue funding this household while you prioritized Madison? Yes, that was your assumption. He couldn't deny it, which confirmed everything. Alexis, let's discuss this. Charlotte will be devastated. I'm certain she will be. Her financial foundation is departing. He left, thoroughly shaken, and I heard frantic whispers downstairs. I continued packing, systematic and composed. The reckoning was approaching, and finally, I wouldn't be managing the aftermath. The moving truck was parked prominently in the driveway as I carried out my final boxes while the family watched in various stages of distress. Charlotte was weeping, naturally. Her signature manipulation strategy. I don't understand why you're doing this. Why not discuss it with us first? Like you discussed confiscating my office before deciding? I loaded another box, maintaining steady rhythm. That's different. Madison needed. Madison always needs. Madison always receives. I'm simply removing myself from the cycle. Dexter oscillated between rage and desperation. This is immature, Alexis. Fleeing because you didn't get your way. Not fleeing, I corrected, lifting my monitor into the truck. Advancing. There's a distinction. Madison sulked on the porch, her YouTube empire suddenly endangered without me managing her technical difficulties and equipment setup. What about my ring lights? She whined. Dexter already donated your setup space, I replied, using her own logic against her. Sounds like a personal challenge. Charlotte followed me inside, still sniffling. I just don't comprehend where this anger originates. We're family. I stopped, placed down my box, and confronted her directly. Allow me to clarify completely. I walked to the kitchen, retrieved a marker and paper from their broken printer area. In bold letters, I wrote, Alexis's contributions, last 12 months, household support, $24,000. Property taxes, $8,400. Insurance payments, $3,600. Kitchen renovation, $12,000. Dexter's medical bills, $4,200. Car repairs, Charlotte, $2,800. Home maintenance, $5,500 plus labor. Emergency fund, constantly depleted, Total, $60,500 plus. Madison's contributions, 0 gratitude level, non-existent. I posted it prominently on the refrigerator. That's your answer, Charlotte. She stared at the calculations, her tears evaporating instantly. It couldn't be that substantial. Review my financial records. I documented everything. Dexter had approached and was reading over her shoulder, his complexion turning ashen. The kitchen wasn't that expensive, he protested feebly. $12,000. I have all receipts. You promised reimbursement when your retirement funds recovered. That was 8 months ago. They exchanged uncomfortable looks. We've been intending to. Charlotte began. Spare me, I interrupted. I'm beyond caring about repayment. What matters is that I've been sustaining this household for years, yet you still treat me like the selfish one when I require consideration. You still prioritize Madison constantly, despite her contributing nothing. She's still developing, Dexter attempted. Still finding her direction. She's 22. I was supporting myself completely at 22, paying my own rent, my own insurance, my own everything. That's because you were more capable. Charlotte's voice faded as she recognized her admission. Exactly. I was capable, so you loaded me with responsibilities. She's incapable, so you freed her from obligations. And now you're genuinely surprised I'm departing. I retrieved my box. Alexis, wait, Dexter said, his voice no longer hostile but genuinely panicked. Let's resolve this. We can correct our mistakes. Too late. I've purchased property, transferred ownership. My name's removed from all utilities Monday. That struck like lightning. What do you mean, removed from utilities? Charlotte asked. I mean I've been covering internet, streaming subscriptions, and 60% of electricity. I contacted providers yesterday and cancelled everything. You have approximately 48 hours to establish new arrangements. Madison appeared in the doorway, finally realizing her comfortable existence was about to transform dramatically. You can't abandon us. She protested. Who'll fix the router? Or troubleshoot my streaming equipment? I couldn't suppress laughter. That's your primary concern? Not how will we manage expenses, but who'll provide free technical support? I passed her, carrying the box outside. Charlotte pursued me, now in complete panic. Alexis, please. We didn't realize your extent of support. We can negotiate something. Dexter and I will repay you. With what resources? You both live month to month. We'll find solutions. Please, reconsider this. I secured the truck's rear door and locked it. It's completed. I'm not requesting repayment. I'm not even demanding apologies, though those would have been appreciated. I'm simply finished being the family treasury. But what about Madison? She asked, and I almost respected her unwavering devotion to centering everything around her daughter. What about her? She needs guidance. She's an adult. She can seek employment. She can't find opportunities in her field. Her field? She's a college dropout who films makeup tutorials for 12 viewers. That's not a profession. Brutal, but accurate, and overdue. Dexter had stormed inside but returned with his wallet. He extracted several bills, his emergency stash. Here, he said, extending it toward me. For the property taxes. It's a beginning. I observed the money, then him. Retain it. You'll need every dollar. I climbed into the truck. Charlotte was sobbing openly now, Dexter appeared shell-shocked, and Madison was frantically messaging someone, probably lamenting her terrible family situation. I'll contact you once I'm established, I told them, which was more grace than they'd earned. As I drove away, I checked the mirror. They stood in the driveway, appearing completely lost. For the first time in their adult lives, they would need to solve their own problems. The first week in my penthouse was absolute paradise. No one interrupting for tech support. No family dinner obligations. No expectation that I'd abandon everything for Madison's emergencies. Just me, my perfectly arranged home office, and the magnificent silence of a space that was entirely mine. I received a text from Charlotte the day after leaving, the Wi-Fi isn't functioning. Did you actually cancel it? I didn't respond. Let them solve it themselves. 3 days later, Dexter called. The garbage disposal is making grinding noises. YouTube offers excellent DIY tutorials, I suggested, and disconnected. By week's end, messages arrived constantly. The printer remained broken. The yard resembled a wilderness. None of them could properly reset networking equipment. All streaming subscriptions had vanished. Madison's career was paralyzed because she couldn't configure her recording setup. Could you visit for just 1 hour? Charlotte begged. We'll compensate you. My consulting rate is $150 hourly, 3-hour minimum, payment in advance, I responded. That silenced her temporarily. But the following Tuesday, exactly 10 days post-departure, the genuine catastrophe struck. I received Dexter's frantic call at 8 a.m. The heating system failed completely. The house is freezing. It was mid-February, nighttime temperatures dropping to the 20s. Contact an HVAC contractor, I suggested. They're demanding $300 just for evaluation, plus parts and labor costs. Welcome to actual homeownership. Alexis, please. We lack those financial resources currently. Naturally, they didn't. They'd been depending on me to manage such expenses. What about your emergency savings? I asked, knowing perfectly well none existed. Charlotte needed it for Madison's equipment, he confessed. Translation: they've been living irresponsibly for years, using me as their financial cushion. That sounds problematic, I said, suppressing my satisfaction. Perhaps Madison can contribute from her YouTube earnings? The silence was absolutely delicious. She isn't. That's not exactly, Dexter stammered. Not generating income currently. Predictable. I allowed him to suffer momentarily, then sighed theatrically. Send me the exact error code displayed. I'll determine if it's manageable. It wasn't, obviously. The heat exchanger had malfunctioned, a $180 component plus installation. But I knew they couldn't attempt repairs without risking costlier damage. You have 2 choices, I informed Dexter after researching. Pay professional contractors, or attempt replacement yourself and risk destroying the entire system, which would cost another $1,200. Couldn't you just examine it? He practically pleaded. I'm managing a client acquisition with strict deadlines, I said, which was accurate. However, if you and Madison want to visit tonight, I'll guide you through ordering components and demonstrate some instructional videos. Extended silence as Dexter weighed whether his pride was worth enduring a frigid house. What time? He finally asked. 7 p.m. And Dexter? Bring Madison. She should master these skills if she's continuing residence there. They both appeared at my door, visibly uncomfortable. It was their first glimpse of my new penthouse. It's beautiful, Dexter offered, surveying my immaculately designed space. My workstation, not the one they'd donated, but a custom piece I'd commissioned, commanded the room beside floor-to-ceiling windows. Thank you. I didn't offer seating. Let's discuss heating systems. I displayed the manual for their unit, detailing exactly which components they required, ordering sources, and installation procedures. I don't believe I can manage this, Dexter confessed, studying the technical diagrams. I absolutely cannot, Madison added, not bothering to mask her disinterest. Then contact professional contractors. Alexis, please, Dexter attempted once more. We genuinely lack funds currently. Couldn't you simply? No, I stated firmly. I cannot. But if you mention family, I'm closing this door immediately, I warned. Family relationships require reciprocity, and for years ours has been entirely one-sided. He suppressed whatever he'd planned to say. However, I softened marginally. I'll propose an arrangement. I'll repair the heating this once, but in exchange, we're conducting a comprehensive family financial meeting. Complete transparency. And Madison begins contributing, actual contributions, not empty promises. Dexter appeared relieved. Agreed. Absolutely. Madison scowled. What kind of contributing? Employment. Legitimate work with paychecks. You'll pay household rent. Handle chores without supervision. Learn basic maintenance skills so everything doesn't burden Dexter now that I'm absent. But my YouTube channel? Remains a hobby, not employment. Not currently, anyway. You can film during free time, like any recreational activity. She seemed ready to argue, but Dexter's warning expression stopped her. Fine, Madison mumbled. The following day, I visited and repaired their heating system. Approximately 1 hour, beginning to end. Then I convened a family meeting at their kitchen table. I presented everything, their actual expenses versus income, the realistic costs of replacing services I'd provided freely, and a proposed budget including $400 monthly rent from Madison. That's unreasonable. She protested. I'm completely broke. Which necessitates employment, I explained as if addressing a child. Starbucks is hiring. So is Target. So are numerous retail establishments throughout the area. Those aren't legitimate careers. They provide legitimate income. Income you require. Charlotte appeared tearful again. Alexis, she's not like you. She has difficulties with. With what, precisely? She's not disabled. She's not ill. She's a perfectly capable 22-year-old who's been permitted to avoid responsibility because enabling her was simpler than accountability. Dexter, surprisingly, supported me. Your sister's correct, Madison. Changes are necessary here. The betrayal on Madison's face was priceless. She wasn't accustomed to Dexter opposing her desires. This is ridiculous, she declared, standing abruptly. I'm not getting some degrading job just because Alexis decided to be vindictive about finances. Yes, you are, Dexter said, his voice stronger than I'd heard in years. Or you're locating alternative housing arrangements. Remarkable. Actual parenting occurring before my eyes. Madison stormed away, slamming her door like the child she remained. She'll adjust, Charlotte said, though uncertainty colored her voice. And if she refuses? I inquired. Dexter exhaled heavily. Then she'll genuinely need to discover other options. We cannot continue this pattern. I hadn't anticipated that response. Perhaps, finally, they were comprehending reality. What about your situation? I asked. I meant my words about complete honesty. I've been financially supporting this household for years. That arrangement terminates now. They exchanged glances, then nodded slowly. We'll manage, Dexter said. Establish proper budgeting, possibly secure additional income. Excellent, I said, rising. I'll follow up next week regarding progress. As I approached the door, Charlotte called out. Will you join us for dinner occasionally? Not for repairs, just visiting? I hesitated. Perhaps. Once you've established proper household management, practically and financially. Madison secured warehouse employment. Entry-level, but respectable compensation. Her expression when first surrendering rent money to Dexter was absolutely memorable. Dexter retrieved his neglected tools and began mastering basic repairs through YouTube tutorials. Charlotte established genuine budgeting and maintained it consistently. They even initiated furnace repayment, modest amounts, but regular. And me? I'm thriving in my new environment. Business is flourishing now that family dysfunction no longer drains my mental energy. I've established boundaries. I have tranquility. I possess that satisfying awareness that comes from witnessing people finally confront reality. I still visit for dinner occasionally, but now when problems arise, I don't automatically intervene. I observe as Dexter and Madison collaborate on solutions. It required complete destruction to construct something superior, and I harbor zero regrets. It's been 6 months since I relocated and compelled my family to confront reality, and the transformation is genuinely astounding. Last weekend, I attended our established monthly dinner, on my terms, where I'm a visitor, not the household bank or maintenance crew. The yard was properly maintained, the kitchen wasn't disaster-stricken, and most surprisingly, Madison wasn't filming content constantly. Turns out the golden child absorbed some difficult lessons these past months. Her YouTube aspirations collapsed quickly once balanced against warehouse responsibilities. No more endless filming sessions when you've got 8-hour shifts handling inventory. She complained incessantly initially, according to Charlotte, but something unexpected occurred. She received a promotion to training coordinator last week, Dexter announced proudly over dinner. The youngest person they've promoted to that role. Madison actually appeared uncomfortable with the praise, which was unprecedented. It's not significant. Just additional responsibilities for marginally better compensation. Welcome to professional life, I said, but without previous hostility. The genuine surprise came after dinner when the garbage disposal made disturbing grinding sounds. Damn, Dexter muttered, then instead of expecting my intervention, addressed Madison. Can you examine that tomorrow? Probably just debris in the mechanism. And Madison simply agreed, as if this was routine, as if she'd been managing household maintenance continuously. She's developed considerable repair skills, Charlotte explained, noting my astonishment. After you left and the plumbing failed repeatedly, she finally showed initiative. YouTube instructional videos, Madison shrugged. Same resources you always used. I nearly dropped my fork. Later, Dexter accompanied me to my car and nervously presented an envelope. Inside was $800 cash. It's not our complete debt, he said quickly, but we've been saving consistently each month. Figured we'd begin substantial repayments, not symbolic gestures. I was genuinely stunned. For years, money had flowed exclusively one direction in this family, from my accounts to theirs. This reversal felt surreal. Thank you, I finally managed. I genuinely appreciate this. We should have treated you better, Dexter said, studying the pavement. I didn't comprehend how extensively we were exploiting you until you weren't available for exploitation anymore. It's not justification, but I apologize. Again, words I never anticipated hearing. Madison's transformed too, he continued. Having genuine responsibilities, earning independent income, it's benefited her tremendously. Forced maturation. Better delayed than never, I said, without bitterness. Exactly. Dexter hesitated, then inquired, are you managing well? Is your place satisfactory? Better than satisfactory, I told him honestly. Business has tripled since relocating. Apparently not having resources constantly drained allows me to focus on actually building something. He flinched slightly but nodded. You deserved superior treatment from us. Driving home, I realized something had fundamentally shifted. My family hadn't merely adapted to my absence, they'd actually developed from it. Madison was evolving into a functional adult, my step-parents were accepting financial responsibility, and most importantly, they were finally acknowledging their behavior. Obligatory disclaimer, yes, I understand some will suggest I should have severed contact completely. Trust me, I considered it. But despite everything, they remain my family. I'm not advocating universal reconciliation, some families are genuinely toxic beyond redemption. But in my situation, once they demonstrated actual change and remorse, I decided controlled relationship restoration was worth attempting. Your experience may differ. The following week, I received a text from Madison that nearly caused an accident. Hey, received a work bonus. Wanted to reimburse you for Mom's jewelry box. Dexter donated it. That was completely wrong. Send me your payment details. I'm not fabricating this. I literally had to stop driving because I thought I was experiencing hallucinations, or someone had accessed her phone. I actually verified, no, definitely Madison acknowledging wrongdoing and offering correction without coercion. The golden child acknowledging wrongdoing and offering correction without coercion. I sent my payment information, half expecting nothing to materialize. 15 minutes later, $450 appeared in my account with a message, for Mom's jewelry box. Sorry for the delay. It wasn't merely about money. It represented recognition, acknowledgement that their actions had been unacceptable. That weekend, something even more remarkable occurred. Madison called, not texted, actually phoned, and requested assistance establishing a basic financial plan. The warehouse offers retirement matching, and I'm completely ignorant about investing, but I should probably begin. I invited her over, demonstrated expense tracking, explained compound growth, and provided her with fundamental financial education resources. Throughout, she remained attentive, asked intelligent questions, took notes like a genuine adult. As she departed, she paused at the entrance. Your place is absolutely beautiful. Far superior to that basement they planned for you. Thank you. I'm very satisfied with it. She shifted uncomfortably. I was genuinely awful about the office situation. And numerous other things. I didn't realize how much you were supporting everyone. I hadn't expected an apology from her. Not ever, really. Water under the bridge, I said, sincerely meaning it. Dexter and Charlotte genuinely miss your presence, she added. Not just for problem solving. They actually miss you personally. I miss certain aspects too, I admitted. Not the exploitation elements, but the positive family components. She nodded, understanding. For what it's worth, I'm grateful you defended yourself. Things needed to change. Now, 6 months later, I can honestly state my dramatic exit was the optimal decision, not just for me, but for everyone. Charlotte and Dexter are budgeting for the first time in their adult lives. They've started building emergency savings. Dexter's become surprisingly capable with household repairs. Madison isn't just employed, she's excelling with actual structure and expectations. She still creates content and posts occasionally, but as recreation, not delusional career planning. She's discussing returning to community college, but with realistic objectives this time. And me? I've resumed dating, joined a fitness club, expanded my client portfolio. All the energy previously devoted to supporting my family now develops my own life. I still maintain strict boundaries. I don't provide loans. I don't abandon everything for their emergencies. But the dynamic has completely transformed. We're gradually rebuilding relationships based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. It remains ongoing work, but for the first time, genuine progress is occurring. Sometimes the most compassionate action is refusing to enable destructive behaviors. It's chaotic and painful, but if people possess growth capacity, they might eventually thank you for it. My family did, and I never anticipated that outcome. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button.